know what microwaves are good for? Straight up popcorn. Straight up
Yeah.
good for popcorn. But then popcorn's in a bag, so the moisture is actually being held inside the bag. Anything you can do to figure out ways to kind of maintain the moisture in there, because what turns the pizza crust into a gummy bear is the fact that you're removing liquid from it. You're actually kind of you're just vibrating it so darn much that it's like, it turns into whatever is like the remaining hard substance in it, removing the water.
I thought you were
from
going to say, you know what microwaves are good for? Megan Kate Nelson. I thought you were going to do a really weird transition there. That would have been a strange transition, but somehow it would have worked. I don't know.
Guys, in case you're wondering why we just dropped Megan into the thick of this in media res from the get-go, it's because we are rack-packed and stacked, and we want to maximize our time today with our favorite person in the whole wide world when it comes to the West, Megan Kate Nelson. Well, one of our favorite people, period, straight up.
Period.
Straight up, period. Good morning to you, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning. Please don't put me in the microwave.
Oh, my God.
What was I going to put you in?
If I do bad things.
Nobody puts Megan in the microwave. Nobody. Nobody puts Megan in the microwave. Because, guys, if this is your first time hearing Megan Kate Nelson, first of all, where you been? But if so, guys, she's a writer. She's a historian. She's a badass. She's written about the Civil War, U.S. Western history, and American culture for the New York Times, Washington Post. The list goes on. You name it, she's written for them, is what I'm trying to tell you. And she earned her BA in history and literature from Harvard University. We haven't done this in a while, so I feel like we do it now. And her PhD in American Studies from the University of Iowa. And she's taught at Texas Tech University, Cal State Fullerton, Harvard, and Brown. Okay, smarty pants. And she's the author of Saving Yellowstone, The Three-Cornered War, Ruined Nation, and Trembling Earth, and The Westerners coming out this spring. Come on. Right? Do we have an actual release date?
We do, April 21st.
Come on. That is a beautiful day to be alive.
I think we should have a book release party.
Really
We should have a book release party either in Franklin, Tennessee, or the city of New Orleans. Either
Both.
way.
Both.
We have back-to-back book release parties. Back-to-back Jacks, Megan Kate Nelson.
I am down to party about books like anytime and anywhere. Seriously.
You know what maybe the most uncool thing anyone said, but I love it? I'm down to party about books.
Well,
the
you know
nerdiest.
who would agree with me? You know who would agree with me is Lee Raybon from the Lowdown.
Oh,
Nicely done.
Nicely done, by the way.
Yeah.
And can I just point out a couple?
A rare book dealer. Yeah.
Some really cool stuff here. A rare book dealer played by Ethan Hawke. I think this whole show was merely an excuse so that Ethan Hawke could wear cowboy boots and a funky hat and walk down a street in Tulsa, Oklahoma to really groovy music to open up a show while pulling on a vape. I mean, it is just like it's peak Ethan Hawke. And before we get to this, guys, I don't know if you know this, the first person he really talks to, not the woman, not the receptionist, but when he sits down at the table to talk to the people about trying to find the MLK letter, is that the actor is Tracy Letts, the guy with the beard, the old guy with the beard, Lindsay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the load. You haven't even told them what show we're talking about.
I'll get to that in a second. It's literally, guys, the man from Nebraska. Tracy Letts is the Pulitzer Prize winning playwright of August Osage County, which, by the way, gets worked into the opening part of that on a number of occasions. And I kept wondering, as we were watching The Lowdown by Megan's recommendation, I love this, and I recommend this highly to every single person listening right now. I don't know how you guys felt, but I just thought that The Lowdown, that first pilot episode, was terrific, and I'm going to put that out there and let you guys kind of sort it out amongst yourselves on the Western of the Month.
I think it's great, but I want to ask Megan and you, Jim Bim. I do think it's great. We watched it. Seamus and I watched it last night. We're in. But how are we going to do this segment? Because we're not just. I don't want to just talk about the episode. We're talking about The Lowdown. It streams on Hulu, and I think somewhere else as well.
Disney. It's Disney Plus.
Disney Hulu.
Plus.
Okay.
It's Disney and Hulu and FX. Yeah.
It's really good. Great. They're taking their time setting the characters up here, but great character. You can tell there's going to be some great character arcs. But we need to talk. I think about some of the underlying themes to get people excited, because we can't just recap the episode, right?
Correct.
Megan, what's your take?
Yeah. Well, so Well, just to set it up briefly for listeners, I mean, this is the story. Ethan Hawke is this main character, Lee Rabon, who is a rare book dealer, but he's also what he calls himself like a truth historian.
Yeah,
right?
a Tulsa
really,
true historian.
Yes, and he's actually kind of an investigative journalist, and so he goes and he digs up a bunch of pretty good dirt on a lot of stuff that's going on in Tulsa, in politics and crime and real estate. And so, of course, he's going to run into some big bad. So he's our kind of main character, our solo guy. And as you can expect, he gets in a lot of trouble. He gets beat up multiple times just in the first episode. And I think no one gets beat up better than Ethan Hawke. Like, he always looks kind of scruffy, but he looks especially scruffy in this show. But he has a number of relationships, like with the business owners on his street, which I want to talk about, like the lawyer, the other antiques dealer, the woman who runs the diner. And then we're introduced briefly to Keith David, who plays this guy named Marty, who just kind of sits down next to him, and we're not really sure what his deal is, but I think they'll probably end up working together. But I thought, I mean, the relationship that he has with his daughter was the most kind of compelling and interesting part of that first episode, because it would be very easy for the daughter to just be, because she's kind of, how old do we think she is? She's a tween, maybe?
Yeah.
I was going to say 13, yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah. And seems very smart and together, which often happens when your parents are kind of, not together.
Mm-hmm.
And he is such a mess that I think it would be easy to make that relationship really stereotypical, where she would just be mad at him all the time and he would just be, like trying to make it up to her and everything, and it just not working out. But there are multiple scenes where they have these like lovely exchanges where it's very clear that they just love each other so much.
And she says it.
Kind of appreciate stuff, yeah.
The script says it. The mom, the ex-wife, point blank tells him. She said, well, of course she likes being there. She loves you. And that's really kind of established beautifully. For those of you guys, and once again, we'll kind of go back to the catch-up because I want to get some of Lindsay's thought here. The Lowdown has something for everybody in it. This may be the closest thing I've ever seen to an owner-operator truck driver who has nothing to do with the truck driving industry in the Ethan Hawke character. He literally has to scrape together a living, has to have a lot of people on his side, has to build a lot of coalitions, while at the same time alienating everybody in his life. But none of you guys listening right now could possibly relate to that character whatsoever. Just wanted to kind of put that out there, Lindsay. I think that's my take on it, why I think our listeners will like it. I think they'll just dig watching a rough and tumble, hard scramble guy trying to get to the truth and take care of the people that he loves. I think
Making the best of hard times.
Yeah.
Trying to make the best of hard times. I'm really curious, to Megan, to know your perspective on this on a deeper level here. As an author yourself and as a historian, what do you think, especially as it pertains to this show, what responsibility do storytellers like authors and journalists or truth historians, what responsibility do you all have, do you carry when telling stories about, corruption and race and identity? There's a real responsibility there when you're recapping those things, because you can't, I would guess, and we talked about this a little bit on We Should Write yesterday, about is history even true? The only way I know history is true is if I was there, like that I'm getting every detail right, is if I was there myself. And even then, our memories are skewed. So, what is the weight of that as an author to tell stories, particularly as it pertains to corruption and race?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, because those are really difficult things to talk about, right? And you have to be responsible to the sources, because basically what we're basing all of the histories that we write on are usually written sources, things like newspaper articles, and, it depends on what time period you're talking about, but diaries and letters and government documents and oral histories and all kinds of things. And if you can corroborate, if multiple sources are telling you, kind of the not exactly the same thing, but enough to kind of say, okay, this really happened in this place at this time. These were the experiences. Everyone's going to experience it differently, but, that is kind of how we do our work. And for me, like when I talk, because I write about a lot of people, I find it very boring actually to write about people who are like too good or, just sort of one note. Mostly because I think that's not true to real life, right? Like everybody living today and everyone who lived in the past were real people, right? And they were very complicated, and they had good sides and bad sides, and none of them were completely 100% good or 100% bad. And so you have to kind of write in 3D in that way. So I feel like my responsibility is also to kind of take you as the reader into a fully realized past, right? That is not just in black and white, but is sort of, if it's gritty, it's gritty. If there are really nice things about it, there are nice things about it. And you write about all of it. So, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm getting verklempt. Talking about the writer's craft.
It's emotional.
It is emotional.
I mean, it actually kind of is, though. That's actually joking and serious.
No, it is. And when you're talking about something like corruption, if you're talking about a past person or you're kind of digging up things that people haven't known before, you're making discoveries, you have to be really careful, right? Like these are criminal charges. You have to kind of figure out kind of what went on and who did what, and if you have enough evidence, which is kind of what Lee Rabon is doing here, right? He's putting some things together because he's very observant, but he also needs proof, right? You have to have sources. You can't just go around printing your assumptions or whatever.
Have you been on the internet recently?
I know. Well, that's what I'm talking about, especially like in this new phase of AI where like, y'all, like I was so crushed to know that the bunnies jumping on the trampoline was an AI generated video. I was so charmed by that, and I thought it was delightful, and then I was like, no, it's not real. But yes, I mean, especially in these days, it's kind of like you have to be really careful with all of your sourcing, and you have to make sure that you prove kind of everything you say, and you have a responsibility to that, and especially when you're dealing with real people in the past. I mean, and they have descendants living today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And race is really hard to talk about, like, as I think we all know, right? Like, it's almost easier to talk about it in the past than it is to talk about it current day. But I thought that was, I mean, one of the things that this show does particularly well is to depict the American West as a fully realized, diverse place. We have indigenous characters, we have black characters, which is very true to Oklahoma. We have, Hispanic characters, we have Anglos, and that, like, comparing this to like Yellowstone, these are two very different depictions of the West, and I tend to think of this particular, like Tulsa, gritty on the street, as more of a real West than the kind of cowboy ranching of Yellowstone.
The woman who does the marketing for this show, the woman who does the imaging for this show actually is from Tulsa, and what she ended up telling me, guys, was she says that's the Oklahoma I know. She says that's the world that I actually knew and grew up in. That really sort of rough and tumble sort of, and there are elements of the frontier town. I'm going to go really left field here for a second, guys, just to kind of give you an example of what Megan's talking about. First, I'm going to fill you with anxiety, Megan, and say the terms primary, secondary, and tertiary. I know you never want to hear those ever again in your life. Primary source is the thing that deals with the thing itself, meaning it's actually a letter, a piece of ephemera from the actual person you're covering. Secondary are the good works that you choose that actually cover the same thing, often rely on primary sources. Tertiary is like a textbook, that kind of stuff. I'm being very broad when I kind of say that. But the other thing is, Lindsay, you asked the question about getting it right. I can give you two examples of where history was completely accepted for decades, if not a century, where we now know they got it completely wrong. Three, actually. Ulysses S. Grant, Edgar Allan Poe, and Ty Cobb. Everybody assumes that Ty Cobb was this monstrous racist because the guy that wrote the book about him said he was. Turns out he wasn't, and the only player he was interested in going to see later on in his life was Jackie Robinson, because he felt he was the only one playing at the kind of intensity that you needed to play the game in. Ulysses S. Grant was always called a corrupt failure. We now know that that was all just part of the propaganda of the Lost Cause. And Edgar Allan Poe was called an opium addict, and it turns out that, in fact, that's not what happened to him at all. But this was all accepted history for the better part of 100 years. And, you know, and so much of what this show deals with is accepted history, because the bad guys are really good at that stuff, Lindsay. People are really good. You know, the great line of every great fortune is built upon a great crime is that if you have enough money, you can pay historians to rewrite your history. Wow. And some of the bad guys that we are dealing with in this movie, I mean, in this television show, The Lowdown, which is what we're talking about, have used their money to create a narrative around themselves that wasn't true, and Ethan Hawke is taking on a false but accepted historical narrative about the family that he is going after.
Is there anything more anxiety-ridden than watching a bad guy pretend to be a good guy and everyone accepting him as such? Like, you know, thinking of the governor or soon-to-be governor, whatever, when he walks in, he's like, I'm not here for, walks into the when they're selling cows. The stockyard, thank you. Yep. And he's like, I'm not here to talk politics, folks. Of course they always are. And he's saying, you know, I'm just, you know, it's just meat and oil. Meat and oil. That's all we're about.
Meat and oil.
Meat and oil. Right. But the idea of what I was hit with watching that, and this is, again, an overall theme, the idea of historical figures or current. There are so many people that have or that do face forward, pretend that they are a good person, a hero, and people believe it. And they are all, majority of the time, the most sinister in the background. And that the juxtaposition between the two, those are so far apart that it's, I don't know, it's almost debilitating to watch and think about how much that goes on. Do you feel that? Do you feel that in your writing, Megan? Because most of your writing deals with those exact subjects.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's hard, right? Because when I think about Western history and the way it was often written until really the 1980s, you know, it was very much the frontier myth. It was very much like, here are the pioneers. They are questing and succeeding, and they are defying nature and Native Americans and bringing them to heel and establishing ranches and farms, you know, and that has become such a, like, ingrained part of the American myth that it's hard to unseat it, right? Although we know from looking at everything that is going on during the period of you know, kind of 19th century region building in the West, like, the story is much more complicated than that, right? There's always a kind of a story underneath. There's the kind of surface that everyone presents, and then there's the story underneath. It's a little bit like social media today, right? Like, there is not one truthful piece of social media out there. We are always, you know, the minute that you crop your photo and, like, put a filter on it, you are, like, messing with the truth, right? You're, like, presenting an image. And
oh my gosh, I'm a part of the problem. I'm a part of the problem.
We're all a part of the problem. We're all a part of the problem. And everybody's lives look so, you know, sort of nice and lovely and, you know,
cropped.
Kind of what you're saying, Lindsay. Yeah, exactly. They're cropped, they're filtered. And the reality is much kind of more complex. It could involve a lot of great things, but it could involve a lot of bad things. And so for me, it's getting below that layer to kind of figure out what is actually going on and why are these people enabled to succeed? Like, why is the Washburn family able to succeed in this? You know, why is the real estate company able to succeed? And there are a lot of reasons why, and it's not just because they're, you know, kind of bad guys who have a certain form of ambition. They're enabled to do it through a lot of different things, including laws.
And the original sin of the Tulsa riots. I mean, and you have the original sin of the Tulsa riots, which hangs above this entire thing, by the way. I kept thinking about something that a lot of people who are historians talk about. Remember Walter Benjamin's, I don't know if you've heard of this, Lindsay, the angel of history, the angel that is blown blown backwards into the future while seeing the past only as wreckage. And the idea that we are hurtling into the future, but our backs are turned towards it, and all the angel can see is the damage that it is causing in its wake. And so you have this big mess behind it, and the angel is basically, the idea that the angel is desperately trying to scoop all this stuff up and make sense of it, but they can't because they just keep hurtling forward into the future, destroying more stuff as they go. And it becomes a great giant metaphor for what the historian has to do. And it's amazing how much of the look of this show is garbage. That there are nice little pockets of wealth where they end up in, but so much of the show is broken books and pieces of newspaper and locales that are falling apart at the seams. It's a world that's falling apart all around them.
Yeah, because he mentioned. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Tulsa, being from Texas by way of Oklahoma, or Oklahoma by way of Texas. Everyone say it, and I have family in Tulsa and played around there. And I love that he mentions at one point. He said when he's talking to the ex, his daughter's mom, and he's like, I've got the house. And he's like, it's Brookline, which Brookline is a great area of little shops and cafes. One of my favorite breakfast places ever, by the way, is Brookline. Ooh. And I love that he goes, yeah, it's Brookline. He goes, well, it's not exactly Brookline.
You drive through Brookline.
And that hit me because honestly, guys, I say when I'm like, yeah, I live in Leapers Fork. I'm like, well, not exactly Leapers Fork. I'm on the way to Leapers Fork. That is true. But it's funny when we try to like mark where we are, like, oh, it's like the nice place. Well, okay, it's like the offshoot of the nice place.
Yeah.
The neighborhood, by the way, that we're next to, there's a part of the neighborhood that's the old 7th Ward. They now call it Esplanade Ridge. And it's like, yeah, no, you're still the 7th Ward. I mean, or like the lower.
You're still the 7th Ward.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the most famous thing. The idea, how can I increase my property value? Which, by the way, what a great meta moment in that too, because he's out there trying to investigate this company buying up all this property, while at the same time trying to elevate the property he is sending his family towards. And it goes on all the time. That rewriting of history. He puts a filter on it, Lindsay. He's putting a filter on it.
If you like it, then you should have put a filter on it.
There you go.
I'm just, I'd like to.
And he also, I'll just make a quick point about that. He also, and especially what Jimmy was saying about everything coming from a crime. I mean, the reason he's able to buy that house is because he falls into some cash because the people get murdered. And you expect him, I sort of was like, is he going to turn that money in? No, of course not. He's going to keep the money. So he is, I think, a very complicated protagonist for us here. Well,
it's very complicated, and we just have about a minute or two left. We'll run out of time, but maybe we keep going on this topic for one more week or one more month, because just really briefly, I want to bring up to y'all the idea. The show is already suggesting that his investigation may endanger his daughter and his ex, and so there's that tension, and there's this big underlying question here and theme, and this is something we can talk about maybe next month. But how far do you push for the quote unquote greater good at personal cost? And that is something that I think is just an overall theme in general that we need to discuss.
By the way, Megan, it makes me think of Chinatown too. Remember the end of Chinatown? As little as possible. What's that? As little as possible. Forget it, Jake. It's Tulsa. It's also Megan Kate Nelson, by the way, who joins us every month for Western of the Month. Hey, guys, let's all make a commitment out there, folks. We all agree we really like this show, right? We're all in?
Yeah. Okay. My household is in.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
and even Dan is in, and he's a prestige. I know he is very snooty, and so he usually only likes Succession. But we watched this, and he was like, okay, this is pretty good. I can watch more of this. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad
maybe
too.
Dan needs to be on with us next month too.
My dad would come on as well too, because he was sitting down with me and he's like, I'm gonna go to bed. Never mind. This is great. It's like a truth serum. So
nice.
Everybody out there, listen to this show so we can all talk about and have a great time. Thank you, Megan Kate Nelson. We love you.
Do we want to sit on it again next month, Megan and Jim?
Let's do it.
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. Megan, we love you. The Westerners coming out.
Love you guys.
In April. We can't wait. Go to MeganKateNelson.com. Look for Megan Kate Nelson on We Should Write this spring.